I lingered in serene contemplation by the expansive window of my Chicago penthouse, observing the city lights twinkle like a cascade of unspoken desires. The distant skyscrapers twinkled like stars, each flicker whispering secrets of romance and intrigue. Amidst the whirlwind of life, lovers find themselves entwined in a tapestry of intricate connections. In this dazzling realm, I found myself a solitary figure, my sighs reverberating softly through the vast, desolate expanse of my elegant apartment. In my hand, the glass of red wine remained untouched, the deep crimson liquid glistening alluringly in the soft glow of the ambient light. I refrained from indulging, not out of lack of desire, but from a fear that the moment the wine graced my lips, I would lose the delicate grip I had on the tempest of feelings swirling within me. Solitude, a term that appears unassuming, yet bears a profound and heavy significance. My dear Benjamin, ever the devoted husband, found himself whisked away on yet another business trip. This journey stretched on, and though he was by my side, I couldn't shake the feeling of lingering emptiness within me. His absence had woven itself into the fabric of my existence, much like a once vibrant painting now draped in the cool, distant hues of longing. I recalled the tender beginnings of our union, when our passion was alive and intoxicating. Benjamin was my entire universe, the man I envisioned would eternally grasp my hand as we navigated the trials of life together. Yet, as the days unfolded, his aspirations soared, drawing him further from my embrace, while I remained, a wife slowly transforming into a mere shadow of the woman I once knew. The dinner had transformed into a mere ritual, stripped of its former allure. A delicate plate, a fine glass of wine, and a woman poised gracefully at a long, solitary table. As time passed, our once intimate conversations dwindled to brief text exchanges, and even our greetings transformed into mere formalities, lacking the warmth they once held. I endeavored, crafting longer messages and posing deeper questions, yet with each attempt, a sense of futility began to envelop me. I found it difficult to confess that truth. I found myself adrift in this union, yet the harder I fought against the reality, the clearer the truth revealed itself. The soft ticking of the wall clock resonated in the hushed ambience of the apartment, creating an intimate atmosphere that hinted at unspoken desires. I rose gracefully, my fingers wrapping around the bottle of wine, and let the rich liquid cascade into the glass, filling it with promise. The Chicago night was brisk, yet the room exuded a warmth that hinted at unspoken desires. I was aware that the hour was late, yet slumber had eluded me, teasing me with its absence. The endless, solitary nights. The tantalizing musings that held me captive in the stillness of the night. Depleted and weary. The doorbell chimed unexpectedly, drawing me from my reverie. A frown graced my lips as I pondered who might be arriving at such an unexpected hour. As I swung the door open, there stood Alex, the captivating senior manager of Benjamin, exuding an air of intrigue. He donned a flowing gray coat, his hair artfully tousled, suggesting the allure of a day filled with untold adventures. Alex moved through the room with an air of undeniable allure, his gaze piercing yet laced with a hint of mystery that left others both intrigued and cautious. "Forgive my intrusion," he murmured, his voice rich and alluring. Benjamin requested that I retrieve some documents. I let out a gentle sigh, leaning in to welcome him closer. It was not the first occasion that Alex had graced this apartment with his presence. He frequently took on tasks for Benjamin, often in spontaneous encounters, occasionally dropping by to collect documents or convey messages with a hint of intrigue. Yet this evening, an enchanting air lingered in the atmosphere. I observed Alex with a quiet intensity as he stepped into the living room, shedding his coat with a nonchalant grace and draping it over the chair. He appeared to linger, unhurried and leisurely, unlike his usual self. His gaze danced to the glass of wine cradled in my hand, then lingered on my face with an intensity that felt almost forbidden. "A night filled with lingering whispers?" Alex inquired, his voice laced with a hint of intrigue. I feigned indifference, striving to maintain my composure amidst the tension. Perhaps something along those lines. He remained silent, his fingers delicately tracing the edges of the file on the table, flipping through the pages with an air of intrigue, as if savoring the secrets held within. His presence enveloped the room, a captivating force that stirred something deep within me. Alex possessed a charm that set him apart from Benjamin. He possessed an irresistible allure, a boldness that was delightfully unrestrained, and a captivating charm that effortlessly ensnared the hearts of those around him. "I've never quite grasped it," Alex remarked suddenly, his gaze lingering on the file with an intensity that hinted at unspoken secrets. "It's quite astonishing how Benjamin can bear to leave a captivating woman like you to your own devices so frequently." I lingered, my fingers delicately gripping the stem of my glass. His words danced in the air, not merely a comment, but an enticing invitation. "A charming invitation awaits." I chuckled softly, masking the tempest within me. "He is preoccupied at the moment. Duty must take precedence above all else." Alex closed the file, his gaze finally meeting mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. "And what of you, my dear? What position do you hold in the hierarchy of his affections?" A tantalizing silence lingered between us. I found myself at a loss for words. A flicker of desire urged me to sever this conversation at once, yet another, more secretive part of me found itself entranced by Alex's enchanting words. I was aware that I ought to remain detached from their words. I was aware that maintaining my distance was the wisest choice. Yet, the solitary nights, the tedious exchanges with Benjamin, the solitary dinners had rendered me more vulnerable than I had ever been. "There are certain thoughts that are best left to linger in the shadows." "Alex," I murmured, my voice fading into a whisper. He inclined his head, a teasing half-smile gracing his lips. "Yet, it is often the thoughts we strive to suppress that linger in our minds, casting a shadow over our hearts." A subtle shift enveloped the room, igniting an air of intrigue. An unspoken tension lingered delicately in the air between us. My heart raced, a secret rhythm that I wished Alex couldn't detect. I took a step back, seeking to weave a delicate veil of distance between us. "Have you procured the documents, my dear? Perhaps it is time for me to take my leave." Alex took his time, savoring each moment with a deliberate grace. He rose gracefully, slipping on his jacket with a hint of allure. Yet, just before his departure, he paused directly before me. We were so near that I could sense his breath caressing my skin. "Ponder my words from this evening," Alex murmured, a hint of allure in their voice, before gracefully exiting through the door. I lingered in that moment, my gaze fixed on the door as it gently shut, yet my thoughts remained wide open. Seal it with a whisper. I longed to erase that moment from my memory, to regard it as trivial and inconsequential. Yet, as I gazed into the distant mirror, a whisper of transformation danced within me, revealing an undeniable shift. Something thrillingly perilous. A temptation I dared to embrace. Yet, I found myself unable to shake the thought that after that enchanting evening, all would come to a close. I would turn away from Alex's smoldering gaze, dismiss his sultry whispers, and carry on with my life as if nothing had changed. A devoted wife, yearning for her husband's return, finds herself enveloped in the stillness of long, solitary nights. Yet I found myself mistaken. In the days that followed, my gaze lingered longer on Alex, drawn to the allure that danced between us. Not out of desire, but rather an irresistible pull I could not resist. With his arrival, the very air in the apartment seemed to shimmer with an intoxicating allure. Growing increasingly taut, enveloping in its embrace. The conversations lingered a touch longer, filled with unspoken allure. The glances exchanged held an air of intrigue, suggesting secrets yet to be unveiled. I attempted to convince myself that it was merely a figment of my fancy, that I was indulging in fanciful musings over trivialities. Yet, each time I averted my gaze, I sensed Alex lingering, his eyes fixed upon me, as though he were anticipating a moment yet to unfold. That enchanting evening, I found myself in the kitchen, delicately swirling my glass of wine, attempting to dispel the haze of uncertainty that clouded my thoughts. Benjamin had called to whisper that he would be lingering for another week. His voice remained composed, icy and distant, as if he were blissfully unaware of the longing that had enveloped me during his absence. I let out a soft sigh, lifting the glass to my lips with a delicate grace. Just as I was about to indulge in my drink, a voice echoed from behind me, stirring the air with an unexpected allure. "Are you deliberately keeping your distance from me?" I was taken aback. Alex lingered in the doorway, his gaze piercing and enigmatic, as if he could unravel the secrets hidden within my mind. I grasped the glass delicately, striving to maintain a composed tone. "I'm afraid I'm not quite following your thoughts." Alex chuckled, a half-smile that hinted at secrets waiting to be uncovered. He advanced, closing the space that separated us, a tantalizing tension hanging in the air. There are unspoken sentiments that linger in the air, whispering secrets that the heart understands all too well. His breath caressed my skin, igniting a spark of desire. The kitchen seemed to shrink around us, enveloping us in an intimate embrace. The rhythm of my heart echoed in my chest, a tantalizing reminder of the moment's allure. And that filled me with a thrilling sense of trepidation. Perhaps I ought to retreat for a moment. I ought to create some distance between us. I ought to have taken every measure to preserve the delicate boundary that existed between us. Yet I refrained. Instead, I remained motionless, captivated by Alex's gaze as if I were a wayward spirit caught in a tempest. He lifted the wine glass, brushing its rim against my lips with a delicate touch, before gently taking it from my grasp and placing it on the counter with a lingering elegance. I drew in a breath, my entire being tightening with anticipation. "My dearest Alex," I leaned in closer, my voice barely a breath, uncertain of the words that danced on the tip of my tongue. To entice him with a whisper of caution? To caution myself? Yet, Alex swept in, leaving me no opportunity to ponder my choice. He drew closer, and in an instant, his lips brushed against mine, igniting a spark that left me breathless. In that exquisite moment, all sense of reason faded away. I ought to have distanced myself from him. I ought to have cried out, to declare that this was utterly forbidden. Instead, I surrendered to the moment, closing my eyes and allowing myself to be swept away by the kiss, as if it were a long-awaited secret finally unveiled. Alex's hand gracefully traced my waist, drawing me nearer with an intoxicating allure. His kiss lingered, a tantalizing promise wrapped in certainty, as though he was aware that I could never say no. It was as though he sensed the truth that lay hidden within me, a truth I had been too timid to confess. The apartment was enveloped in a hushed stillness, broken only by the rhythm of my breath and the fervent thump of my heart. Then everything unraveled in a most unexpected manner. That evening, the boundaries between us faded into a tantalizing haze. The following morning, I awoke with a heavy heart, burdened by a sense of undeniable remorse. I reclined in the soft embrace of the night, my gaze tracing the intricate patterns of the ceiling, while Alex slumbered peacefully beside me. The room was infused with the intoxicating aroma of wine, the disheveled sheets whispering secrets of a choice I could never undo. I turned ever so slightly, my gaze lingering on his face, illuminated by the soft glow of the early morning light. Alex appeared composed, an air of tranquility surrounding him, devoid of any hint of remorse or concern. As if last night was an inevitable affair for him. Yet for me, it was not so simple. I wrapped the blanket around myself, embracing the unfamiliar sensations coursing through my body. All that I once cherished, all that I clung to with fervor, has vanished into the ether. I had ventured into a territory I ought to have avoided. Yet, what lingered in the air was the undeniable truth that this was far from the end. Alex possessed a fierce determination that was impossible to ignore. He had witnessed my vulnerability, and I was acutely aware that he intended to keep that memory alive, lingering like a forbidden secret between us. I rose gracefully, gathering my garments from the floor, and slipped them on with a quiet elegance. I longed to slip away from this room, yearning to reclaim the essence of myself that existed before the enchantment of last night. a version of myself that had gracefully sidestepped this misstep. Yet, the moment had slipped away, leaving only a whisper of what could have been. As I glanced back at Alex one final time before departing, a fleeting smile danced across his lips. Those lips of his. A smile that speaks of secrets shared and desires hinted at. He had triumphed. And before I realized it, I had surrendered all that I held dear. I believed I could conceal every secret desire. I believed that by maintaining my composure and embracing the ordinary, no one would perceive the subtle transformation within me. Yet, I found myself underestimating Benjamin's allure. He arrived sooner than one might have anticipated. 1 week later, under the enchanting glow of the evening, a message from him graced my phone. The business trip concluded ahead of schedule. I shall return this evening. I gazed at the screen of my phone, a wave of melancholy washing over me, as if I were teetering on the edge of a forbidden desire. One would think happiness should be mine, wouldn't they? How delightful it is to have my husband by my side once more. Yet, a flutter of unease danced within me, an elusive apprehension weaving its way through the very essence of my soul. I had deceived Benjamin, and, to make matters more intriguing, I found myself questioning whether I could truly conceal it from him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow, Benjamin stepped through the door, and in that moment, I felt an undeniable spark in the air. He had transformed. Not in a physical sense, yet there was an undeniable allure in his gaze. The way his gaze lingered on me sent a shiver down my spine, a delightful tension that was both thrilling and unsettling. "Is everything all right with you?" he inquired, placing his luggage down with a flourish. I was taken aback. His question danced lightly in the air, yet the undertone held a deeper allure. "Indeed, how delightful. What compels your curiosity, my dear?" I endeavored to maintain a steady tone, yet I could sense my fingers gripping the delicate fabric of my skirt with an undeniable intensity. Benjamin hesitated, a moment stretching between them like a silken thread, before responding. He gazed at me, lingering in the silence, as though weighing a tantalizing secret. Then he stepped forward, enveloping me in a warm embrace. I stood still, caught in a moment of unexpected allure. I ought to have embraced him more fervently. I ought to have felt a thrill of joy at his return. Instead, a wave of guilt washed over me, mingling with the fear that he might catch the rhythm of my racing heart. As he withdrew, his eyes remained fixed on mine, more intense than ever. "You've transformed," Benjamin murmured, his voice a sultry whisper. I found myself momentarily paralyzed. What could possibly lead you to such a conclusion? He gazed at my face, as if seeking a hidden treasure within. "I'm uncertain. There's an undeniable allure in the air." I chuckled softly, attempting to infuse a touch of levity into the atmosphere. "Perhaps weariness has settled upon me." Benjamin remained silent, a mystery wrapped in allure. Yet, during the course of our dinner, I sensed his gaze lingering upon me. He was not one to cast doubt easily. He had always trusted my devotion without a hint of doubt. Yet, in that moment, I sensed his gaze lingering, as if he were captivated by a secret only we shared. What filled me with the deepest trepidation was his silence, as he refrained from probing further. He observed in silence, akin to a lover poised to seize the perfect opportunity to enchant. The days that ensued were filled with an intoxicating tension, a delicate dance of emotions lingering in the air. Benjamin had ceased to pose direct inquiries, yet his silence loomed with a chilling intensity, far more daunting than any accusation he could have uttered. Each dinner lingered in a charged ambience. Each delicate caress from him sent shivers down my spine. I found myself poised on the precipice of desire, yearning for a whisper of temptation to sweep me away. Yet, I was not the sole one transformed by the passage of time. Benjamin began to return home at a more enchanting hour. He gazed at me with a newfound intensity, no longer lost in the depths of his work as he once was. His thoughts were a mystery to me, yet I could sense his anticipation lingering in the air. And then, that fateful day arrived. One enchanting evening, as I gracefully entered the living room, I found Benjamin lounging on the couch, his gaze deep and alluring. On the table lay an open envelope, its contents whispering secrets of desire. My heart raced as I came to the tantalizing realization that they were photographs. I approached with a fluttering heart, my fingers trembling as I delicately lifted one of them. It was I. There was Alex, nestled in a secluded corner of an elegant cafe, amidst the allure of a parking lot and lingering in the whispers of a hotel hallway. None of the photographs possessed the clarity to be undeniably conclusive. Yet every fleeting moment preserved whispered the entirety of the tale. To an untrained eye, it may have appeared as a mere chance meeting, yet Benjamin perceived it as something far more intriguing. He understood me in ways that felt both thrilling and intimate. A wave of warmth washed over me, leaving my cheeks pale as I lifted my gaze. Benjamin exuded an unsettling calmness, yet there was a spark in his eyes that left me utterly breathless. "Is there something you wish to share?" he inquired, his voice a sultry whisper, laced with an intriguing chill. I parted my lips, yet silence enveloped me like a delicate veil. Perhaps this was the moment to unveil my deepest secret. Yet, I was aware that even in my deception, Benjamin would possess his own truth. At last, I breathed softly, my apologies escaping like a secret shared under the moonlight. Benjamin gently shut his eyes, a fleeting attempt to rein in the tempest of emotions swirling within him. Yet, when he reopened his eyes, what I beheld was not fury, but a profound sense of disillusionment. "I once believed," he murmured, "that regardless of how the world shifted around us, you would forever remain the one soul I could confide in." His words cut through me, sharp and intoxicating, leaving a lingering ache in their wake. I felt compelled to express my thoughts, to offer my sincerest apologies, to unveil the reasons behind my actions. Yet, I understood that no eloquent phrases could ever undo the transgressions of my heart. With a graceful motion, Benjamin rose, his fingers delicately retrieving the envelope before placing it gently into my palm. "I offered you the opportunity to reveal your secrets. Yet you chose not to." He cast a lingering glance my way, then gracefully turned his back, leaving a whisper of longing in the air. "Tomorrow, my lawyer will be in touch with you." I was utterly captivated. "My dearest Benjamin." Yet he remained facing away. He turned and strolled away, leaving me in the vast, desolate room, a lingering sense of longing in the air. Just as our union stands now. Alex vanished into the night shortly thereafter. Silence lingers, a tantalizing absence of words and whispers. As if for him, it were merely a captivating game that had reached its final act. I never sought him out. I found myself unable to do so. 1 month later, the fateful divorce papers graced my doorstep. There was no clash of wills. Let there be no trace of anger. Only the chilling pages remain, bearing witness to the demise of what once thrived in eternal splendor. I stood before the mirror, gazing at the image that stared back, a blend of allure and intrigue. The reflection before me revealed a woman transformed, a stranger cloaked in allure and mystery. All that I once held dear had slipped through my fingers. And the most heart-wrenching truth was, I understood that it was a treasure forever lost to me.